Hey there, it's Sunday morning and I just released a video on, well, the second video on making the bandsaw. This one concentrated on the wheels. This one was a bit shorter than the first one because I just concentrated on the wheels. I just covered that. When originally I was going to include the tensioner as well. But I came out here yesterday and I did some more work on the saw that I want to include with that tensioner, so I didn't, like I originally had it edited in, I cut it out. All right, so. And that's what delayed, well, I can't say it delayed because it came out this morning, but that's what delayed me overall on finishing the video. Because I wasn't sure how that was going to end. Like, I had the tensioner half done. I want to have the tensioner fully done. And I didn't have the part, like I said before, I didn't have the part where I filmed the 1/2-inch blade. I got that found, of course, and I put it on. I did everything with that, but then I also made some changes that I want to include in that, because there were other stuff that I tested. Okay, so that'll be in the third video. And also I'll be mounting the motor in the third video as well, and doing the first powered test. I have a slight concern with this in that once the blade is on and it's tensioned, it makes kind of a sound. And I want to see what it sounds like with the motor on. I think maybe, possibly, it has to do with this hollow post here that is kind of resonating inside there. So maybe I'll fill that up with something. Maybe spray foam would be the thing to fill that up with. Okay, so what am I talking about? I was wrong about Kickback. Well, that's just another provocative title to try to get people to click on the video. And I wasn't wrong about Kickback, especially when you compare it to Flickback. You know, there are people that are whatever, you know. I remember, you know, a friend of mine from years ago, I asked him what his favorite band was. Like anybody that can carry a tune. This kind of, you know, non-committal, fence-sitting, wishy-washy, it doesn't matter type thing. It really doesn't work for a technical subject. And this is, you know, woodworking is technical, but it's not as technical as some other. You know, it's very technical, but, you know, there's some art involved. So, but you can't be wishy-washy about your terminology. Okay, why is it important? It's like, I know the difference because I've got lots of experience, and I've experienced both of those things. I've experienced Kickback, and I've experienced Flickback, and I know the distinction between the two. But a lot of people, you know, have no experience with a table saw. They don't know the difference between Kickback and Flickback. And so they call Flickback Kickback. When one is very serious, okay, Kickback is almost always very serious, and the other one is almost always not serious. That's the distinction. I made a couple of comparisons in the video, in the comments in the video. It's like dropping, you know, a can of ravioli on your foot versus, you know, a 100-pound anvil. One is really serious. The other one hurts, yes. And it might leave a bruise, yes. But it's not going to flatten your foot and break all the bones in there. Okay? That's the distinction between something that's serious and something that's less serious, or substantially less serious. And that's why the distinction is important. Anyway, let's get, like, I wanted to see why that Kickback, and I'm calling it a Kickback now, that Kickback that David had, that's one of the examples I used, was so severe. Because on the camera, it looked like it was more severe than Flickback normally is, right? So I reviewed the video and I captured a couple of stills to show here. In this first one, it looks like the piece is angled upwards. It almost looks like it's kind of falling into the miter slot. The edge of the piece is going to catch on the very edge of the miter slot, and that's what caused the kickback. So I watched a little bit further in the video and I saw what really happened. The edge of the offcut, as you can see in this picture, isn't touching the edge of the miter slot, but what happened when David reached for the piece, his fingers pushed it up against the blade and his fingers went down slightly into the miter slot, and that caused the pinch point. So that takes it from a flickback situation to a kickback situation where the piece gets jammed between something that doesn't move, which is his fingers, which looked like they were caught right on the edge of the miter slot. They went slightly into it, and the blade, and it flicks back, you know, with good velocity. Now, I had another comment on there saying that there's like the blade is spinning at one speed. But what kickback is all about is how well the blade grips the piece that's being thrown. Like if you just drop the pencil on something that's spinning, like a belt sander, like it'll land on the belt, but it doesn't have a real good grip on the pencil. You understand? Whereas a true kickback situation is similar if you, instead of taking the pencil and dropping it, you take your hand and push it down on top of the belt sander, and then you'll see how much further it goes. You can try this at home, you know, try it out. Say goodbye to the skin on your fingers, but try it out and you'll see that there's a difference in the amount of grip that you have there between one and the other. It's that force where something is pushing it against the blade, and it's the action of being twisted, and that causes it to kick back. Another kickback situation is where the wood binds in a straight cut through a piece of material because the wood is bending or closing. That increases the grip on the blade. So the blade's not spinning any faster, it's just you've massively increased the grip that the blade has on the material, and that pushes it back.
How much?
69 cents.
And the gas?
Y'all getting any rain up your way?
What way would that be?
I seen you was from Dallas.
What business is it of yours? Where I'm from? Friendo?